On August 12, 2022, I issued a retraction about John Pennisi allegedly assaulting a woman and knocking out her teeth, which was written about in the 2020 story turned ebook audiobook Guilt for the Guiltless, a story about the Michael Meldish murder trial involving Steven Crea, Matthew Madonna, Christopher Londonio, and Terrance Caldwell, which I authored. On August 16, 2022, I contacted Dominic Crea both via email and phone, he didn't return my call, to ask him to put the retraction on the Guilt for the Guiltless website, which he owns. On August 17, 2022, via email, he informed me that the website was going to be a forwarding DNS to his YouTube channel where the audio version of the book resides. On August 22, 2022, I asked Dominic via email to place this in the description section of the Guilt for the Guiltless video on his channel. Lisa Babbitt, the author of Guilt for the Guiltless, has issued a retraction regarding the assault of a woman by John Pennisi. You can read her retraction and other information regarding it on her YouTube channel here, http://www.youtube.com/C/Lisa Babbitt. You can contact her at her business email address at nymstaff@gmail.com with any questions. That same day, I received an email from him stating he would not, quote, be updating description on channel as I will not further look to discredit a woman whom I believe is a victim of abuse, end quote. He then suggested my, quote, best course of action, end quote, would be to have my, quote, friends, end quote, post a retraction on their channels and to post it on sites that I, quote, control, end quote. Just so people can get up to speed, I originally posted the retraction on a MobFax community post in which he said the book was fiction propaganda. I wanted to correct that statement, and in that response included the original retraction, which I will read now. As an aside, MobFax deleted his original community post and posted my retraction as a separate post where I answered some additional questions in the comments section. Here is my original retraction in full. The book isn't propaganda fiction. It's a free ebook, and I was never paid for the book and no one asked me to write it. But there is definitely no solid proof that John Pennisi did that. Only 2 references and someone else's court documents that I could find. The story was written more than 2 years ago, and like everything, there is time for contemplation and reevaluation. Do I believe now that John Pennisi punched a woman in her mouth and set her hair on fire? No, I don't. If someone can produce dental records, then I would retract that, but I don't believe those dental records exist because I don't believe the event happened. I also believe that I wasn't objective in writing that book in regards to many things, but especially in regards to Pennisi because of a dear friend of mine who was abused that way by a boyfriend many moons ago, an event which still haunts her to this day. So when people said back when the book was published that I had a vendetta against Pennisi after I kept going on and on about this incident and then moved on to attacking him in other ways, they were probably correct. No journalist is perfect. I'm certainly not. But if I make a mistake, I'm going to admit it. And in this case, I believe I did make a mistake and John Pennisi did not deserve my wrath. There are people out there who may say I still have a vendetta against Pennisi based on recent communications. Just remember, people do things for a reason, and my only goal was to get to the bottom of this dental records issue. I do not share or post private emails or text IG messages, and I don't intend to do so in the future. As far as this garbage that's been going on, I'm not a fan of that either. And had I known that it would have ended up the way it has, I wouldn't have even contemplated trying to shed light on something that I felt at the time, and still do today, should be exposed. I was told by someone very wise when I first took on this project to not do it. Once again, my project, my idea, nobody else was involved in that decision. Because I don't know anything about anything. He was 100% right, as he usually is. What's happening now, in my opinion, isn't shedding light on anything. It's a bunch of adults acting like children, and to be quite honest, it's an embarrassment all around. That's all I have to say at this time. That's the end of the original retraction. Since the time of that retraction, I have been continuing my investigation. A few weeks ago, I added an additional 11 points about the alleged assault, which I will share here. There will be further updates, but as of today, September 20th, 2022, the evidence still leans very heavily on the side that John Pennisi did not assault this woman. Here are the 11 additional points. 1. If a police report domestic incident report had been filed, the NYPD is required by law to investigate and question the alleged abuser, even if an arrest isn't made. 2. If the event was as violent as was claimed, there is no doubt that an arrest would have been made. 3. If the event was as violent as was claimed, she more than likely would have had to go to the hospital, in which case the hospital would have had to call the police, which circles back to number 1. 4. John Pennisi wasn't on trial. Eugene Castelli was. If the woman attended court on the day of the trial in which Pennisi was set to testify to face her abuser, you must ask yourself why this was the time where she gathered up her courage to face her abuser and not any time prior in her own court proceedings against Pennisi for the alleged assault. Had she filed a police report, there would have been a court proceeding. 5. The woman hadn't even been subpoenaed by the defense to testify the day she showed up in court. According to her lawyer via email, quote, if a court would have allowed her testimony, she would have complied with any defense subpoena, and that is the sole reason why I appeared in court with her during the Castelli trial. The issue of her potential testimony, and also the related issue of potential cross-examination of Pennisi on the topic, was first being litigated at that time. End quote. 6. In that email to the attorney, I asked this specific question, quote, I am specifically seeking a copy of the dental records, a police report, or a domestic incident report regarding the assault, end quote, and added that in order to verify authenticity, I would need to see the alleged victim's name, but would keep everything confidential. No documents would be released to the public. 7. In his response, the lawyer did not reference any of the above documents, nor did he say anything couldn't be released because they were under a protective order. What he did say is the alleged victim did not want to, quote, revisit this sensitive issue, end quote. 8. If you recall, Castelli's lawyer requested a mini-trial a few days before the actual trial began, but was denied by the court. 9. Go back to the lawyer's statement in number 5. 10. The defense was allowed to question Pennisi about any alleged bias he may have had towards Castelli because they were dating the same woman. 11. The woman's lawyer also represented one of the defendants in the same indictment as Castelli. Does one have to do with the other? Maybe, maybe not, but interesting nonetheless. This is the end of this update on September 20th, 2022. There will be more to come. Thank you.